Hi, yeah, I'm Greg Adams, co-founder and CEO at Stabilitas. My co-founder, Chris Hurst, over there, he's our COO. Stabilitas is a data science company that helps people work better together to solve tough security challenges. And, I was talking a little bit about, okay, data science, big data, data analytics, like, hey, Greg, what we really want to do is have a crystal ball to see the future. And what I'd argue is that, the future is echoes of the past. And in order to understand the future, we need to have context around what happened in the past because, the future rhymes, I guess, is what I've heard before. And so I've seen this firsthand, I guess, from the operator perspective. I was a Green Beret. Before deploying overseas, I spent more than 6 months learning, hey, local language for a space in Oregon, who the contacts were. We actually did a PDSS before I got there on the ground. And so I knew what I was set to go do. I had a plan, but I showed up first day, got FRIGO'd out west, hopped on a ring route flight going somewhere else, and I needed to get that context again, but it was hard to do because the other team gave me a high five on the way out. It's typically what happens, and I needed historical information about that place in order to be able to impact it in the future. And so, I ended up getting out of the Army and building this product, Stabilitas. Actually, we serve the commercial space right now, and this is our first look at anything for government, so hopefully I give you some good so whats. But ultimately, I was trying to build something for myself to be able to understand places I was going to in the past, useful on JSETs or useful on missions elsewhere, to be able to plan for the future. Okay, so how do we do this? I told you we use data science, but ultimately what we're doing is the work of about 130 analysts, 365 days a year, processing news for you, reading what's happening in the world, and identifying threats. So what you actually see up here is our pipeline. We've processed more than 1,700 reports in the last hour that we said, hey, do these reports contain threat information? That's what we're looking for in our model right now. And the green line there is those reports that, yes, they contain threat information. So something that I commonly run into in the military is like, okay, is this single source reporting? How do we validate that this happened? And so I'm glad you asked that question, Greg. The first thing that we do is try to handle this in an automated way. So we look for multiple sources of reporting and use semantics to identify, hey, which reports are similar here? And are they at the same location? So we first off do that in a completely automated way. And then we also stick that same information in front of our users to see if they'll validate it. So this is kind of like a Waze for security, if you will, comparing it to the traffic app, right? We do natural language generation. So after we've clustered groups of reports, those are those blobs you see up on the chart there, which this is kind of a live look at our back end. We say, this is a summary. One of the summaries that we've got pulled up here, there's an attack outside JBAD last night at a TV station, and we just pulled up a quick summary saying that there are at least 3 attackers, 2 of whom had blown themselves up. We can continue to follow that report so you can see updated information on it over time. You can tear into the original source reporting, which we've all aggregated for you so you can look at the information there. Okay, again, Greg, I'm interested in predicting the future, or at least understanding what I need to react to right now so I can make decisions in the present. And so the reason that we keep all this information around is to kind of tile the world and understand at a baseline what typically happens every day for any geography. Really, we're doing this at the country level right now. But here's an example in Turkey recently. So this is the spike you see right in the middle there is around New Year's. So you would typically expect for there to be more reporting around New Year's. It's a celebration. Stuff is going to be in the news. But you actually see several standard deviations break from typical reporting shown on our dashboard here. And why did that happen? If you were doing historical analysis, you could shut that down. There was a nightclub bombing that night. And so if you were traveling to a place for the first time and you wanted to tear into, hey, what has happened here that may have an impression on people? Why is the security posture this way? Here's some historical facts that might be helpful that you can dig into and see, on a map. People can do this without much training at all whatsoever. We want to make the user experience really simple because this had to be something that Greg could use. And around this kind of breaking information, identifying standard deviation breaks in real time, that's where we can get to helping you make better decisions right now. And so I'll pass it over to Chris, who can talk about how our commercial customers are using us at the moment.
Thanks. You know, our commercial customers are asking 3 questions. Right? The first question is an area safe? Right? They have facilities and operations and people all over the world. And so we give them a way to answer that question. We first allow them to look back in time. So now we're looking at the last several months in Turkey, the same types of areas that Greg was just looking at. We've highlighted the most significant security incidents in an area, which gives context for our commercial customers, and we give context for SOCOM. Before going into an area, what are the trends, what are the big incidents that have happened? Next, Greg. We push all this information in real time to a map that overlays people. That's the circles with numbers, and the black dots there as it loads our facilities with breaking incidents. And so that's what you're seeing with the yellow and the red incidents. And Greg, if you can pull up the smartphone, the QuickTime. Thanks. And we push all this to the employee on the ground. So when a large firm is sending their people abroad to do work for them, the employee on the ground is getting local context. That same information is available to SOCOM. That's the so what, right? Next. Actually, Greg, if you look in the top right, you'll see 4 men, one slide back, 4 men arrested in London on suspicion of terrorist plot. Can you go to the view report location? So the next problem that our corporate customers have is they not only need to get this information, they need to know when it affects them. So we set up highly configured alert rules that tell them when breaking incidents like 4 men arrested in London on suspicion of terrorist plot happen near their facilities, their people, their operations. So highly configured alerts. Stabilitas has a demo facility at 10 Downing Street as an example. And Greg, if you can go to our location here in Tampa and just drop an incident, drop a protest or something near us. You might disable ghosting. So this is me, this is our real-time location. I'm ghosted. Greg, if you'll disable my ghosting and then drop an incident. What happens is the system asks, okay, something bad happens, right? Now who's in the area and who needs to know this information? So I'm alerted right away on my smartphone that when Greg drops the incident that a protest has happened, I'm alerted. And the powerful thing about this system is users don't have to have smartphones. So if I know, for example, that an Afghan Kandak has lots of soldiers stationed in an area, an incident could be dropped on the map, and within seconds, thousands of Afghan soldiers are made aware of that information. So real-time situational awareness for SOCOM and for our partners, all in seconds. Now, some of our customers have said, look, Chris, we not only need to know the information, so there's that Greg has overridden my privacy settings, and an SMS message came in that we got the alert. There it is. User submitted that there's a protest. We also enable our customers to send thousands of SMS and voice calls manually, which is again is like a talk in a box, but for our corporate customers. So if you've had trouble with your foreign partners in their communication technology, we could have a talk up and running and enable them to talk to all their counterparts in seconds, again, over SMS and voice. Stabilitas won the best new product for the security industry in 2015. We serve 30% of the Fortune 500 sponsors for the Rio Games. We have a network of users all over the world, firms from 300 people to more than 100,000 people. We are differentiated by our artificial intelligence, using multiple sources to cluster and to validate. We are differentiated by our alert triggers, letting people know what's relevant and when it affects them. We are differentiated in our network, that if you, SOCOM, or anyone here works with us, you can join our network of security professionals globally, adding to the map, validating, sharing information. We think this platform will change the world. So we look forward, actually I'm going to turn it over to Greg to just talk about the future. Thanks.
Okay, so I think what we're looking at here is we're really not going to be able to tell you the future, but we can spot events as they're as they're breaking, by having more people working together to identify sources of news that are important and be sources of news. These are the Paris attacks. We spotted them before they were breaking, and it's just one example of application to keep people safe and work better together to save lives. So thanks very much. Look forward to your questions.